So the absolute worst approach you can do for a game jam is to order an extra large pizza, 6 bottles of Mountain Dew, lock yourself in your room, and work on your game for 48 hours straight. Now that might sound a little bit extreme, but to some people that's what they think that they should be doing for a game jam. And I'm here to tell you that that's probably not the most efficient way that you could be approaching your game jam. In fact, the way that I approach game jams is pretty much the complete opposite of that. I want to keep taking care of myself and be able to stay mentally sharp throughout the game jam, and I think my end result is a whole lot better when I take that opposite approach. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you kind of my general approach to video game jams. So game jams are essentially a short window of time where you're tasked to make a video game. A lot of times they'll happen over the course of a week or a weekend. I think weekend ones are probably the most common and most popular. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've only participated in 48-hour weekend-long game jams. So that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on today, is these real short 48-hour game jams. By the way, if you do enjoy this video and you found it helpful, make sure you hit that like button. Also, feel free to subscribe to the channel for lots more videos on video game development. Of course, if you have any questions for me or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave those down in the comments section below. But anyways, I'm going to talk about my kind of general approach to video game jams. So, of course, you want to kind of start preparing yourself mentally and physically, actually kind of leading up to the game jam. So make sure you're getting good sleep, you're getting in a good sleep pattern, you're not staying up too late and sleeping in. Also, during this time, while not completely required, it's probably a good idea to start kind of thinking in your head a little bit about maybe some of the kind of genres of video games that you'd want to create. For me, I'd always like to kind of challenge myself and make a game that is different than the one that I'm currently working on, or maybe a game that I've actually never made before, so I don't know if I'm any good at making them or not. So in the days kind of leading up to the game jam, just kind of think of maybe what kind of a game might you want to make. Again, you don't really need to have a clear picture in your head at this point, because you don't really want to start your brainstorming until the theme of the game jam is announced. And then the last thing that you want to do before the game jam actually starts is make sure you go to the store and get yourself some good healthy food. You want to have some good food to fuel your body, fuel your mind, so you're not eating a bunch of junk and just not being in the best mental state throughout the duration of the game jam. I know a lot of times people like to go for the quick and maybe not as healthy types of food options for game jams, but for me, I eat healthy in general, and doing a 48-hour game jam should be no exception to whatever you eat normally. And sure, it might take a little bit longer to prepare, but it could be a good excuse to get away from your game for a little bit and kind of think about some of the problems that you're working on in the back of your head while you're getting your food ready and eating. But in general, I'd say eat what you normally eat and look for some healthy snacks. I think fruit and nuts are a great option for some healthy snacks. Anyways, let's talk about what happens when the game jam actually starts. So this would be kind of like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type game jam. Typically, for the game jams that I participate in, the theme is announced on Friday, either afternoon or in the evening, and then you have, all Friday night, all of Saturday, and then Sunday up until the afternoon or evening, 48 hours after it was announced on Friday. So Friday, I do pretty much no game development. All I'm doing is brainstorming and coming up with a rock solid concept at this point. So typically the theme is announced, and it's always a terrible theme, and I always have absolutely no idea of what kind of game that I'm going to make based off of the theme that I thought no one would ever want because the theme is so terrible. So it's just kind of like a little bit of like a what the heck, what am I gonna do? And my brain's all cloudy. So this is a good time for me to go for a little exercise break. So, maybe I'll go take a 20 or 30 minute run or do some other kind of exercise for a little bit. And when I'm doing this, I'm not really listening to any music or any other distractions or anything like that. I'm just kind of exercising and kind of thinking just in the back of my head about the theme and what kinds of things that I could do with the theme. After that, then I'll come back and I'll actually get out a piece of paper, start doing some brainstorming, drawing, do some concept art and stuff like that. Again, at this point, I'm not doing any game development. Sure, maybe I'll go up on my computer and do some Googling to see how easy some certain things might be possible to do within my game editor of choice. Maybe I do actually open my game editor and test around with a few things, but this isn't any game development. This is just kind of proof of concept stuff, seeing how difficult some things might be to implement and stuff like that. But really my main goal for Friday is kind of just do a bunch of brainstorming, come up with a rock solid concept, and then from there, actually have like a real good plan of what I need to do. Maybe even write down kind of like the general flow of the gameplay so I know what I need to do for programming. And so I can pretty much just have that all set. So right when I wake up Saturday morning, I can pretty much just start going right away. I don't need to think about what I need to do because I've already done that. I can actually just start checking boxes off the list basically. So anyways, Friday, just get your rock solid plan together. Go to bed early so you can wake up early and get started on Saturday, because Saturday is when you're really going to be doing the bulk of your game development. So on Saturday, like I said, make sure you wake up early. I like to exercise in the morning. Again, it's just good to get your blood flowing, start getting your brain thinking, and it's really just going to keep you fresh for when you actually go to start making your game. Anyways, after you exercise, go ahead, take a shower, do what you need to do to get ready. But don't dilly-dally too much. You want to get to work as soon as possible. And once again, if you did everything properly up to this point, you should have a nice solid list of what you need to do from the night before. So then Saturday, you should be able to start working. Now, what I like to do is something that's called the Pomodoro technique, which is where you basically set a 25-minute timer and you do completely focused work for 25 minutes. Make sure your phone's off, you're not getting any email notifications or anything like this. You want to be completely laser focused for that 25-minute period. Once that's up, then you set a timer for 5 minutes and you just take a 5-minute break. Again, you don't want to be checking your phone and email and stuff during this break. You can just use these breaks to stand up, stretch, walk around a little bit, maybe read a book or something like that. And then once your 5-minute break is up, then you go back into another 25-minute laser focused Pomodoro session. I've definitely found that that's the most productive way to get work done, is by doing these Pomodoro techniques. As far as how to prioritize things, I certainly think that you should prioritize your strengths, double down on what you're good at, because that's the way that you're going to make the best game that you can make. But also you can use game jams as an opportunity to challenge yourself a little bit. So maybe pick 1 or 2 areas that you're kind of weak in, or things that you've never done before, and really focus on kind of getting those tasks in kind of as secondary objectives. So again, just really prioritize your strengths, and then after that kind of look at 1 or 2 areas that you're weaker or not as experienced in, and then everything else in the middle is kind of below that. You kind of just do what you need to do for those things. But anyways, just keep doing those Pomodoros until either you get stuck or you finish something big and you're kind of at like a good breaking point. Or maybe you're just hungry and it's a good time to take a little lunch break. So again, go take a lunch break. Don't feel bad if it takes you an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to have a little bit of a lunch break. Again, I like to cook food at this point, so maybe that takes a little bit longer than, of course, just microwaving a pizza. But again, the healthy stuff is going to keep your body running, keep your mind sharp. Also, during this lunch break, this might be a good time for you to jump on the forum for the game jam, or the website or whatever they have set up, and kind of look at, maybe what some other people are creating. Not necessarily so you can get ideas for new things, but it's just kind of good to see what other people are doing. And maybe it does influence you to make some little tweaks and stuff like that, and that's fine. But don't, see something that someone else does and then just throw away your whole project and start working on something new. Maybe you do use this time to also share some cool screenshots that you took along the way. But aside that, during your longer breaks, maybe now's a good time to listen to a little bit of music or do some stretching. Again, just take care of yourself and make sure you're mentally refreshed before you go back to doing work. And then once you are ready to go back to doing work, make sure that you have a pretty good idea of what you need to do and how to prioritize things. Again, just go into that Pomodoro laser focus mode for another couple hours, maybe take a break for dinner, and then after dinner, you can work a little bit, but I think after dinner, now is a good time to just kind of start wrapping things up for your day. And, maybe just do a little bit of writing and just kind of write out where you are and what you need to do tomorrow to finish. Now also might be a good time that you can kind of start looking at things that you might need to cut out of your game. Again, don't be afraid to cut things out of a game jam because time is kind of the essence. And at this point, you're already over halfway done with the game jam. So the clock is really ticking. Again, get to bed early, wake up early Sunday, get a little bit of exercising in, and just get back to work, start checking those boxes. Now, Sundays during game jams are usually pretty hectic for me because I'm, just completely rushing to get things done. I try to stick to the Pomodoro technique as best as I can, but I usually don't break away for lunch. I usually just pretty much fast through the whole day until I submit my game, and then I kind of reward myself with a nice dinner afterwards. But on Sunday, this is the day where you should have pretty much your core game done really, really early on in the day. You don't want to be dragging out the development of your core stuff through a good portion of the day on Sunday, because on Sunday you want to be doing a lot of this stuff like menus and bug testing and stuff like that. And so along those lines, make sure you actually do make a build of your game several hours before the submission deadline, because I know it's definitely happened to me before where I was getting real close to the submission deadline and then finally made my first build of the game and then ended up coming across a couple of different bugs that I didn't see when I was just testing in the editor. So definitely make sure you do a build of your game and do some thorough testing with it, and just make sure anyone downloading and playing your game or playing your game through the browser doesn't experience any major issues. The one thing I will say, if you are short on time, don't worry about taking screenshots or making title graphics or writing out descriptions or anything like that, because those are things that can all be added in later after the submission deadline. You really just want to focus on getting your game complete, getting it uploaded, and getting submitted before the deadline. So anyways, no matter how much planning you do, it's always going to be a crazy race to the finish line on Sunday. At least it is for me. But you just put up whatever you have, and if there's some bugs in it, oh well. And maybe you can kind of fix those later in a post-game jam version of your game. But hey, at the end of the weekend, you came up with a game that you made in 48 hours, which is, something definitely to be proud of. And so that's pretty much my general approach to these short 48-hour game jams. I really like participating in these. They're definitely always a good challenge. And again, I really like to try and take care of myself during these game jams. So I'm not burning myself out, and then the week after is just like I'm just totally dead because I was, stayed up for 48 hours straight, eating nothing but pizza and Mountain Dew, and am just like totally exhausted. So that's definitely what you don't want. Take care of yourself, still keep exercising, eating healthy, doing what you do. And so anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like. Also feel free to subscribe to the channel for lots more videos on video game development. Of course, if you have any questions for me or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave those down in the comments section below. But I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.